Hello and welcome to Inside the Workplace, the podcast where we dig into the hidden forces shaping our jobs, teams, and companies. I'm Darren, your host, and alongside me here today we have Junior.
Hello, everybody. Today we've got something special, a panel discussion with two workplace experts to unpack organizational behavior. We'll talk about why it matters, how motivation works, how perception shapes decisions, and why matching people to the right jobs and companies can make or break careers.
Here with us today we have two incredible people who are going to help us answer the questions and concerns that we may have. How are you both doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks. I'm so happy to be here. How are you guys doing?
As good as we can.
Well,
I'm doing awesome. I'm just excited to teach everyone watching about organizational behavior.
happy to hear it. All right, well, Kayla, let's start with the basics. How would you describe organizational behavior?
Yeah. So organizational behavior is essentially the study of how people think, feel, and interact at work as individuals as well as in group settings. It's not just about productivity, it's about understanding why people behave the way they do.
Precisely. If I were to add on to that, I would say that psychology and management tools are often used to understand and study the reasons for particular employee behaviors. Alongside this, concepts like leadership styles, workplace dynamics, and communication methods are key to understanding organizational behavior in the work environment.
Okay, that makes sense. Why would you say that it matters or that it's so important?
That is because a company is basically a collection of people. If you start to ignore how people interact with each other, you can have the best strategy on paper and still fail because you do not understand the employee behavior. Organizational behavior also affects organization goals and objectives. It influences multiple factors such as staff retention and efficient production.
An example of this is when I once worked at a company where they had brilliant employees, but there was constant conflict because there was no clarity in roles or decision making. Once organizational behavior was understood and a clear goal was identified, then production was improved by almost double.
Wow. So organizational behavior isn't something to just be looked over or ignored. It's a key factor for the success of the company then.
Definitely not. Now it has been said that motivation is one of the biggest aspects of organizational behavior. And we now know that there are quite a few motivational theories out there. How would you say do they influence behavior at work?
Yes, yeah, so people often think that the pay is what is most important to employees, but this is completely false. It could be true in some cases, but in a majority of cases, people are more complex and would rather be motivated by things like achievement and growth. And it's because people want meaning, autonomy, and feedback rather than just more money.
So if I had to explain the first theory, which is expectancy theory, a teacher's motivation comes about by realizing that effort will lead to performance and that performance will lead to the reward. So an employee is more likely to have motivation in terms of working hard, setting goals, and having a positive outlook of their role if the employee believes that hard work will lead to positive results and that the results will be rewarded in a significant way.
Yeah. So alongside that, we have the Hesbert's two-factor theory, which states that there are two factors, and they are hygiene and motivators. So hygiene includes things such as salary and the conditions that they work in that prevent their dissatisfaction. Then there is motivation, such as achievement and growth. These motivations drive satisfaction.
Okay, Kayla, I think I get your point. So in theory, a workplace could design jobs that keep people engaged and morale high by simply understanding motivational theory.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Junior. It's really that simple.
Wow. So, Michaela, when looking at perception, how would you say does it affect decisions at work?
If you can look at the textbook definition of perception, the way in which something is regarded, understood, or interpreted, this means that it's not always accurate. It's important to note that an employee's perception is often based on their past experiences, preconceived ideas, headspace, and their values. Some, if not all, employees' decisions are subconsciously filtered through their experiences and ideas. For example, an employee is hardworking and skillful at what they do, but they're quiet and introverted, and the manager in charge perceives this as the employee being rude and uninterested. So then the manager then chooses to promote another employee who isn't as hardworking and deserving.
Yeah, that's very true. So, like a theory to help one better understand perception is the halo and horn effect. The halo effect is when an individual judges or favors somebody based off of one good trait or characteristic, and the horn effect is actually the complete opposite. An example is an employee is punctual and rarely misses a day of work and is viewed as highly skilled, but their work is actually really average. Whereas an employee who has only been late to work twice is viewed as disorganized and not as skilled, even though this worker is one of the most skillful and hardest working people.
Mind blowing. That was a great way to explain it. It really makes a person think whether their decisions have been affected by perception.
It really does, Junior. And I mean, perception could impact possible promotion opportunities and employee recognition. That's why it's essential for leadership and management to have awareness and good judgment so that no unfair biases are taken into consideration when they're making decisions.
Okay, so essentially, could it be said that training managers to check their assumptions could lead to them making better decisions?
For sure, Darren. So, even something as simple as structured interviews to avoid bias in hiring decisions could be implemented.
Okay, to move on to the next topic of it, I'm sure people are waiting for this. Michaela, let's talk about person job fit and person organization fit. Why is it so important?
Well, we all know that job satisfaction is crucial for an organization to thrive in order for employees to have job satisfaction. It is important that an employee is given a role which accounts for their interests and their skills. A good job fit ensures that an employee is challenged but motivated in their given role. This will lead to better overall performance. Not only is it important that an employee fits their job role, but also that an employee fits their organization. Does the organization and employees share the same goals and values? If the answer is no, then it's probably not a good fit. To add to that, if an employee doesn't align with an organization's way of working, the employee will likely not be satisfied with their job, which would impact both the organization and the employee negatively. Therefore, the recruitment and selection process is highly important for organizational success.
So, I actually have a very creative friend who once worked at a marketing company, and she loves creative freedom. But unfortunately, I think she joined the wrong company. I just think she joined the wrong company because they had a strict approval rate, strict approval chains, and this ended up making her miserable. It was not because she lacked skill, but simply because her job ended up dampening her spirits.
So a recruiter should look not just at the CVs and instead also assess the job skills and cultural alignment.
Yes, that would definitely help to avoid toxic work environments and the wrong fits for both the employer and the employee.
Wow, that's very interesting, guys. Well, ladies, gentlemen, and all the hard workers out there listening or watching, that's a wrap on today's episode with our deep dive into organizational behavior.
We hope that today's episode helped you learn something new and useful because we sure did. Any last words, ladies?
I do actually. I just wanted to remind everybody that the best workplaces aren't just built on strategies, but are also built on the understanding of people.
And remember, in the end, organization behavior is the organization.
Guys, take notes, please. Thanks for listening to Inside the Workplace. If you enjoyed us, share it with your colleague and join us next week for more insights on the human side of work.
See you next time.
Bye.